I got to kick this thing off. Can I kick it off? 1, 2, 3, 4. Ladies and gentlemen, listen.
Conversate with Us Radio presents the Man Listen Show. We are the blackest radio show on the internet. We bring you our opinion on topics that affect the Black community in an effort to enlighten, enrich, and empower every brother and sister that falls under the sound of our voice. We operate on a no-hating frequency, so be prepared for us to keep it 100% real and 100% Black all the time. You can follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Man Listen Show. You can also subscribe to the show on YouTube and iTunes, basically anywhere you can find your podcast. Make sure you leave a comment, make sure you give us a thumbs up, and make sure you let everybody know about the blackest radio show on the internet, the Man Listen Show. I'm your host, Mark B. Let's bring the crew in. So what's up, y'all? A lot in the news, a whole lot in the news. Start off with Kyrie Irving. We talked about Kyrie in the past before. Been a bit of a controversy about him and his social media. Apparently he shared a link to a movie that some people, we'll say some people, consider to have anti-Semitic tropes within the documentary or the film that he shared. I didn't really see about this, or I don't really follow, I'm not on Twitter that much, and I don't follow Kyrie, but I did see on Instagram where he got into a disagreement with a reporter asking him about why he was promoting such language. And Kyrie, Kyrie is about he's not going to back down on anything. And he said, no, that's not what I'm promoting, and he stood tall, or he stood his ground on what he had on his social media. He later released a statement saying that he's an omnist, I think that's how you say it. So he he has respect for all religions, or he follows all religions. I don't really know what that means, but basically he has respect for all religions, and he tried to say there's no way that I could be anti-Semitic. The Brooklyn Nets did, the president, I believe it was the president or the owner. Let me make sure I say that right.
I think he's part owner or something.
Okay. The management of one of the managing partners or owners of the Brooklyn Nets spoke out about what Kyrie shared, and basically tried to condemn him for condoning or promoting anti-Semitic messages. And now everybody is talking about it. I just saw on TNT, Barkley and Shaq, they spoke harshly about Kyrie on this matter, which I feel is whack. So, it seems like anti-Semitism is all the rage right now. We all know that, those are the people that you can't touch. It's the LGBT and it's the Jewish people, right? And you really can't go after the Jewish people, because they made Michael Jackson change the lyrics to his song, and that's the baddest entertainer ever to live. So, I don't know Kyrie. I don't know what could be done to Kyrie. They can't do him like they did Kanye. But what are y'all thoughts? What are y'all thoughts about this whole situation? I mean, I have my opinion, but I want to hear y'all's first.
Man, they better than the alphabet people.
They really are.
I mean, it's one thing to say you can't say anything negative or derogatory that's false about people, right? But legally, if it's true, you could say it. But that's not true when it comes to them. So you can make true statements all day long and say, hey, if you have a professional contract in music, there's a Jewish person whose name is on the contract. If that's factually true, then that's factually true. And you shouldn't be, criticized for saying things that are true. Now, I don't know if he has a Jewish person's name on his contract or not, but if that's his truth and that's what he's sharing, or if Kyrie's sharing this Hebrew Israelite story that he believes in, I think that's part of the reason why they don't allow race theory, what is it?
Critical race theory.
Yeah, critical race theory. You don't want to talk about it at all. You don't want to think about it. You don't want to talk about it. You don't want to process it. And you don't want anybody to say anything that could possibly indicate that you're a racist or you're doing something to oppress anybody else. And as long as certain people are in power, they're not going to allow you to talk about them or shed any light on the negative things that they're doing. And that's basically essentially what we're seeing here with Kyrie. I don't know about that other boy.
The other boy, you talking about Kanye? Yeah, we said we were gonna talk about
Hey,
him
man,
again,
we
but
not supposed
I think
right. We're not supposed to
it's
bring his
virtually
name up, man.
impossible.
Yeah,
It's virtually impossible for us to not talk about it. But
right.
The thing about it, before I let Lav and C come in, they really kind of proved Kanye right. Now, I told y'all a long time ago that I was done with Kanye. I was done with Ye. I don't suffer sellouts for long, and he crossed that threshold many a times. I'm not giving him as many passes as y'all do. But I personally believe that a broken clock is right. Twice a day, and what he said wasn't false. Now, the issue that I have is that many people came out to say, oh, this is anti-Semitic, this is anti-Semitic. And like Erika said, how is saying something that we believe to be true, which I never really can hear anybody say that's not true. That isn't true. All they can say is that's anti-Semitic, and people use that as a reason to vilify Jewish people. But we're not vilifying Jewish people. We're saying, okay, this is the truth as we see it. Now, does that make Jewish people bad? In my personal opinion, I don't really have a beef with Jewish people unless they are racist towards Black people, ADOS. But to say that they have profited, how's that how you say it? They have capitalized on Black entertainment is true. It's true. And for people to say you can't say anything about that unless you're going or you're going to incite persecution of us, I mean, that doesn't compute for me, because like Erika said, I mean, it's the truth. So I don't know what's going to happen to Kyrie. I mean, Kyrie's been an anti-vaxxer. He's a flat earth dude. Now he shared the link. I don't know if he necessarily subscribes to everything that the person who wrote this book and made this film thinks. But again, when it comes to this anti-Semitic label, I mean, I think that's like the Trump card. That's the, hey, listen, if we want to silence you, we just go ahead and say this right here. Say this right here, and then we can get you up out of there. So, Lab, see what y'all think.
Well, you said something interesting earlier where it's like along with the alphabet crew, they have the power. I'm not gonna say power, but you can't mess with them. I view it differently. I view it as that Black people are the only people that you can mess with. It's not just them, it's everything. It's we saw the Asian hate crime bill, you see everybody else is getting
protection.
I'm not gonna say protective status, but yeah, essentially
that's what it is, protection.
And then we weren't going to talk about it, but the early leanings of the court on these affirmative action lawsuits against colleges, and them basically saying Black people aren't protected, you shouldn't use that, but white men still should have some, it should have some protected status. You can use that to even out the college admissions, but you can't use someone's Blackness, or you can use immigrants, their immigrant status, but you can't use that they're the descendant of slaves. So they're basically saying that again, everybody except for Black people get it.
And you remember how many people called us crazy when we talked about, hey, listen, we don't need to be joining in with any immigrants. We need to have a separate protected status as ADOS. and how people said that we was crazy. There's people that, I mean, people was angry and upset, you know, xenophobia and this, that, and the other. And now you see that browning of America, the Asians, they not siding with us. No, they're not. They ain't trying to side with us. Nobody is. You know, AWS, we don't have any friends at all. We don't. I know some people talking about, well, we got to have allies. No, because when it comes down to lab, you said it perfectly. When it comes down to us being protected, there is no protection. Kanye said everything he could that was anti-Black. He did everything, and he did everything and said everything that he wanted to against Black people. Everything. And not one thing happened to him. And the minute they said, oh, you talking about the Jews, he was out of there. So, like I said, to me, I don't know if we're to blame for that or if they're to blame, but I'm holding everybody who sides with Kanye to blame for that, and the people who said, okay, you know what, now this is too far. You know, you could talk about Black people, but you can't talk about them.
Well, so just to answer that last question, when you say you don't know if we're to blame or it's them, I mean, a lot of it falls on us. I mean, we accept a lot of that stuff. If there was like, you know, Jewish, you know, music where they're talking about each other, shooting and killing each other, like their community wouldn't stand for it and wouldn't keep letting it play and right out. Same way with anybody else, you know, they pretty much killed like, you know, that really hardcore, crazy rock and heavy metal because what it was doing to their kids in their community. We just kept allowing gangster rap just to continue to flourish in our communities. And granted, we don't own any record labels. We couldn't control, you know, MTV. I know BET got sold to them, but we still have to take a little bit of the burden on us. Like it's too acceptable. So like, you know, this morning I was on my way to work and I heard some woman had called into the radio station. She was talking about like, you know, what happened when she and her kids woke up and saw that Takeoff had passed away. And she was like, yeah, my 4-year-old was crying because his favorite song was, and then she said it. And I'm just like, and don't get me wrong, I am not probably the most responsible parent because all my kids grew up on Tupac. I mean, that's just the way it is. Like certain rappers I gave a pass to, but like, I just don't know why your 4-year-old's favorite song will be anything from the Migos, like just anything at all. So I think some of it's on us. And then as far as, you know, just kind of jump back to Kyrie, the same thing I said when, you know, when Kanye first said it, like who can prove that they're wrong? That's the thing, you know, but you don't have to, like Aretha said, it's their truth. Like it's whatever's their truth is, that's all that matters. Like no one can truly prove if those Jewish people are supposedly Jews or if Black people are the real Hebrew Israelites in the Bible. Like no one can prove that. So saying, you know, that you're a Hebrew Israelite, you believe that's what Black people are, it doesn't mean that you're anti anything. But that's the thing. Another thing that we have a problem with in America, you can have an actor that say they don't want to play a gay role just because they're heterosexual, but they're not against gay people that have gay friends, family, whatever, but they'll flip that to where saying he's like, you know, anti-gay or anti-LGBT, like just because you don't agree with anything they say, they automatically assume you're anti-something. Like anti-Semitic is what Hitler was. Like he hated those people. He, you know, imprisoned those people. He tried to kill those people. Neither Kanye or Kyrie said anything bad about those people. They just simply said, my people, these people, I believe are the Hebrew Israelites. And when people start pulling up scriptures and pulling out that Bible, they never want to debate it. They just always want to argue and then flip it to where something else. I mean, same way if you watch those videos where people are arguing with, you know, those Hebrew Israelites in New York and California and everywhere else, no one ever wants to debate the scriptures, like, you know, as far as what it says. They just want to say, well, this is what we believe, we're right, you're wrong, and just leave it at that. Unfortunately, those people are the ones that are controlling America. So it's hard for people like Kyrie and Kanye to step out and say anything, but it's not nothing new. Like Black people have said and known that they were, you know, Israelites for decades, like, you know, I'm sure centuries. So
Yo, don't worry, we're gonna get back to the good stuff. But before we do that, make sure you go to our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Man Listen Show. If you want to donate to the show, go to our Cash App, $ Man Listen Show. Now back to the good stuff. Yeah,
Like,
and the book is
most Christians
called.
ain't even read the Bible. They
no,
can't argue the scripture because they haven't
No.
read the scripture.
right. And they won't, though. They won't. Even if you
No,
read
they have no
it,
intentions of reading the Bible
Right.
that they want to beat you to death with.
Yep.
And the book is called Hebrews to
Hebrews,
Heroes, Wake
yeah.
Up Black America by Ronald Dalton. So, and the movie came out in 2018.
Yeah.
So that is the tweet that created this controversy for Kanye. I said Kanye, for Kyrie.
on the brain. But no, seriously though, like you're talking about the book, the movie, whatever, by that definition, if that's by definition anti-Semitism, then every textbook in America is anti-Black.
Exactly. Yep.
Seriously.
Yep.
A man has spoken.
That's true. Yep.
Right. Because they don't have no problem with saying anything negative about us and deciding that it's truth or not truth or whatever. But they banning books based on anybody having an opinion contrary to theirs. I think that's the problem. America's so soft. We're so soft. This new generation of people are so soft. From getting into fights where they just end up shooting people to just being like, no, these books can't be in my school because God forbid there be an opposing argument in the vicinity of my brain. Like, we're not even forcing you to read the book. You're just banning books so that no one else can even read it. You don't want anybody else to even be able to see an opposing theory or thought. And that's why schools do not teach people to think for themselves. They don't teach independent thought. They don't teach comprehension. What they teach is how to go out here and work for somebody else and do what you're told every day, and to get up when the bell rings and to sit back down when the bell rings. That's it. We're Pavlov's dog. All we're doing is being trained to function in the society that fuels, the engine.
I don't know who dog you just called us, but
you took psychology, man.
I resent that.
Yeah.
but I'll say this though, in response to what you just said, Erika. I don't think it's. I think we have become more soft, like you said. Politically correct. I hate to go there because that's a phrase and terminology and tactic that sees people, the Republicans use to try to bully people in to, saying, hey, well, you just, America, it's just so PC. You guys are just so worried about being politically correct. Remember, they was calling people snowflakes when people said, hey, no, this isn't, right. This isn't right what you're doing. I think it's a little bit more nefarious than what you say, Erika, because I know I talked about this book called Dark Money, where they talked about the power and the influence, the money that they put in to politics and supporting political campaigns. But another piece that people sleep on is the money that they put into these political think tanks and how they use these think tanks to go at different youth organizations, youth movements in these schools, right? And to promote these theories and these ideologies, whether they were true, fact-based or not, because if you say it long enough, it'll become the truth. And the reason why they don't, like you said, went to critical race-based theory, the reason why they're trying to eliminate these books, because if they get rid of it and then they continue to promote these thoughts and these notions that aren't true, right? Then eventually people like us, they'll silence us, but eventually it'll become the truth. So I don't really think it's more so about just people being soft and that's why they're trying to hide it. I think they're trying to hide the truth because they know that eventually their truth will become the reality. And if it does, and if they don't, it's just like, Tariq Nasheed said, I'm white and I said so. And that's basically what's happening with this whole anti-Semitic controversy that they're throwing on Kyrie and y'all's boy Kanye. It's not that not that what you're saying is untrue. It's just, I don't like that you're saying it. And because I said so, you can't say it again. And I'll do anything I can to kill you while you're alive. I'll take away everything that you have. So I don't know what kind of endorsements Kyrie has, but I'm pretty sure they're going to be on the line. And one thing about that really ticked me off about
he
it.
got
like
Nike.
Okay, well, I'm pretty sure that might be on the line. That might be on the line. Well, let's bet on it. But here's the thing:
got the top selling signature shoe line. That active players, I think. But yeah,
you saw what happened. You saw what happened with Kanye and them little ugly shoes he was putting out. You know what I mean? So Here's the thing that ticked me off though. We talked about reparations, right? And we talked about how slavery, Jim Crow, all the different laws and codes that were put into place to oppress us as a people, how it wasn't that long ago. I talked about how my parents were born in 1934 and 1939. They weren't born full citizens. They didn't have the ability to vote. They went to segregated schools. They weren't full citizens. I saw a lot of people, and one of the people in particular is Peter Rosenberg, who gets on my nerves. He's on Hot 97. So
what's the name? I mean,
Peter Rosenberg. Peter
Rosenberg.
Peter Rosenberg.
Okay.
So when the Kanye controversy was still ablaze, he was up here pleading and saying, my mom was born in a what do you call it, a relocation camp. I don't think he said concentration camp. My mom was born in a dislocation camp. I have great aunts and great uncles who died in the Holocaust. That's very sad, right? I don't endorse that or condone that. But when we said the same thing, they were awful quiet. So how do you come on a Black targeted radio show and try to plead and gaslight us into saying, hey, listen, the Black man is wrong for saying something that's true, right? But try to extrapolate it into, he's talking about, hey, listen, we side with Hitler and we want you all to be persecuted and everything. No. Hold your own nuts. You go ahead and do y'all fight, and we're gonna fight ours, because that's the exact thing you say to us. There's nobody who coming to save us. Like I said, we don't have any friends.
You know what I found to be very interesting? You brought up dark money. I was like, it didn't make sense to me when Forbes just decided Kanye was no longer a billionaire. Don't you actually have to have $1 billion in the bank to be a billionaire? Or do they just decide you've got enough money coming your direction to be a billionaire?
It's accounting.
Yeah, it's worth.
It doesn't have to be liquid. It doesn't have to be liquid.
Yeah. That's why they don't pay taxes that much, because they don't have that liquid money. It's just all in other stuff.
So then you shouldn't be classified as a billionaire. If you can't go to the ATM or down to SunTrust or wherever you bank and pull out $1 billion, I'm gonna need you to not be classified as a billionaire on Forbes.
Well, you know what though? If they made that change, then probably like Oprah and a lot of other Black billionaires that we have, it might change their status. But I guarantee who it won't affect.
I'm fine with that.
The people that Kanye and Kyrie talking about and everybody else. So
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But why they trying to be like,
with Adidas?
What'd you say, C?
I said the thing with Adidas is, like, Kanye had exposed how shady that contract was for like nearly a year, and did everything in his power to get out of it. So like I said the same thing on social media. I mean, they were like the crazy girlfriend that you can't get rid of, that keeps crying and screaming every time you try to break up with her. And then finally 9 months down the road, she leaves you and then wants to tell everybody that she broke up with you. I mean, he's been trying to get out of that Adidas contract.
Yeah. I think Adidas, part of him, he wanted to get out of it. That's why he said specifically, they can't fire me. He was begging them to fire. To get
He's trying to get out.
But you can't tell me that a billionaire can't afford attorneys to go in and negotiate a sufficient contract for him. You signed up for that agreement. You signed up for that agreement because they were accepting all of the risk and you were accepting all of the rewards, because you didn't know if your little brand was going to take off, if people were going to pick up on it. So I don't want to hear him crying about how terrible his contract is, just like I don't want to hear about artists talking about how terrible their contract is. You know how many people are on the what is it? You have one-hit wonders list.
Right.
You could be great, but you could not. They could put money into a whole album and no one ever hear from you again. So are the contracts terrible? Yes. Kanye, people who don't have any money, them I feel sorry for. Kanye, you're a millionaire. You had rich attorneys agree to that contract for you. I don't care nothing about that Adidas contract. He on his own with that one. As with many other things. because he's Kanye,
Everybody
so.
on Bad Boys gonna cancel the show now, thanks to what Erika just said.
Take that.
Can't stop, won't stop.
But
Can't stop.
but you know what though? Another thing that I think made Kanye and Kyrie both easy targets is that this isn't like the first time. Now, if LeBron had posted that exact same tweet that Kyrie did, I don't think it would have been near the backlash, because Kyrie fancies himself a contrarian, like you say, he's a flat earther, he's an anti-vaxxer, and so that or I'm not gonna say the not goodwill that he's developed throughout the years is coming back to bite him now. And it's pretty much the same way with Kanye. They're antagonistic of a lot of people, and people, anytime somebody has a chance to get back at you, they're going to. That's just my thought on it.
I think it was timing with Kyrie though, because he's posted stuff like that before, and there's been several athletes, NBA, NFL, that have posted things about like Black Hebrew Israelites. So I think it was just he did it too close to when Kanye went on this whole rampage. And had Kanye just
And because it was Kyrie though.
But if Kanye would have probably said the Hebrew Israelite part, or even talked about the movie and the book without the Jews in the contract and that, so when he started exposing how they're controlling everything, I think that's the real problem. Because I mean, look at how many Hebrew Israelites there are around the nation. Look at IUIC, they're deep. So it's not like they're trying to silence that whole movement. They just been trying to ignore it. It's just that Kanye just had a different platform, and he just like I said, I think he just took it to another level. But that wasn't the first time Kyrie's mentioned that though.
Right. That's my point. He has a history of it. So at some point there's gonna be a point where people turn on you, is what I'm saying.
But it definitely wasn't when he was talking about black folks. So
who, Kyrie? What did Kyrie say?
I'm talking about Kanye.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, it's Kyrie.
Yeah, definitely wasn't.
He's at that flavor to your function. DD's daiquiri. Good people, good vibe, one drink at a time. Good people, good vibe, one drink at a time. Flavor to your function. DD's daiquiri. Good people, good vibe, one drink at a time. Good people, good vibe, one drink. Wanna kick back, wanna just vibe. Word kick back. Let me first slide to the drink store. Let me just buy DD drink mixes, all of them fire. Fill me up a case, I'm finna drop bread. Marvelous mango, classic and red. Took them to the party, these folks won't leave me alone. They wanting me to share, they better get their own. DD's adding that flavor to your function. DD's daiquiri. Good vibe, one drink at a time. Good vibe, one drink at a time.
I don't know. I think if LeBron had said something anti-Semitic, I think that they would have jumped on that with the quickness laugh. I got to disagree.
Well, first though, we keep saying anti-Semitic, just by saying it,
exactly.
Black people.
That's why I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say it.
So
if he had posted that link, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
If LeBron had posted something that they considered anti-Semitic, they would have jumped on it with the quickness, because they can't wait to try to take LeBron down. LeBron has been very calculated when it comes to his stance, his on politics. I mean, he's been out there, but he hasn't gone all the way out there. He's talked about some things, but he kept quiet on some things. And I know I'm a LeBron fan, but when he didn't say anything, when those cops killed Tamir Rice, that was a miss right there. That was a miss right there. That's right in your own backyard.
Yeah.
You didn't say anything about it. So I don't fault LeBron, because the good that he does far outweighs any sort of misstep he may have made, or by not taking action, or whatever inaction, by not taking action on certain things.
Right. He learned from that. He learned from that though.
Yeah, he did. And we need the LeBrons. We need the Jay-Z's. We need the Beyoncés to stay where they're at in terms of their ability to provide resources to the community. we don't have people out here who could build schools like LeBron is actually doing. We don't
That's what I
have,
was gonna say.
we don't have people out here who are bailing folks out and creating, you know, trust and taking care of people's families who were murdered, you know, prematurely by the police or what have you. We don't have people doing, we don't have many that are doing that. We just don't. So I don't expect them to go all out on a limb. And that's why that's why I say Kanye is so dangerous. I don't put him, I think Kyrie is just he's just a dude that likes to be, I don't want to say cantankerous, but
a contrarian. Yeah,
he's contrary, right? He's contrary, sort of like a conspiracy theorist, you know what I'm saying? I somewhat understand him because a lot of people don't like what I got to say. And I get it. You know, I just don't vibe with a lot of people, you know, and I know what it's like to have what seems like everybody going after you. You know how hard it is to be the only person that be like, hey, I rock with Monique. So I feel for Kanye, you know, I mean, for Kyrie. Why I keep switching these motherfuckers up? I feel for Kyrie to a certain extent, but we need them to, I don't think we really need them out there on the forefront as our thought leaders. Nobody else has entertainers and athletes out as their thought leaders. They don't.
The Red Hats do.
Who?
But yeah, I understand.
What are you talking about? We talking about
They
Trump?
don't even police themselves. They do whatever they
Yeah,
want to do.
yeah.
We over police ourselves.
Yeah.
And our like people that we've decided are in a position of power. Like Kanye's school got closed down. I didn't even know Kanye had a school.
I did.
Kanye got a school. I mean, I knew Kanye had a school because of the basketball team.
Exactly. That's the only reason I knew
Not
too.
his academy. Yeah, I did.
But I know that I would rather LeBron not say anything than LeBron's school get closed down. So I would rather that. But I mean, so it's kind of like you have to, and when you get to that level of influence and power, walking that tightrope between appeasing the masses and actually having the impact that you know you can have, that's a dangerous ground that I know I can't walk.
Yeah, and I'm
gonna say what I
glad
gotta
that you
say.
called me out on that because I think I got real close to saying just shut up and dribble with that. But
Right.
what I'm saying though is there's a bigger game at play, and we always say, okay, we need people that's going to give back to the community, right? And here are people who are actually doing that, right? And so I don't want them to jeopardize the resources that they are willingly giving back to us because they don't have to do it because there's plenty who don't.
Mhm.
So I appreciate them for what they do. And I think that there's other people that need to be able to speak out and say what needs to be said other than those individuals.
Yeah. Jalen Rose got a school too in Detroit that's supposed to be doing big things too.
Oh, I didn't know that. But I mean, but who decides who gets to talk? Like we just decided that we get to talk, that we get a voice. Maybe somebody don't want to hear what we gotta say. We decided that, you know what I mean? Here's what I gotta say.
I'm not no damn billionaire either. And that's
Right.
Last I knew,
Listen.
y'all wasn't either. So we don't.
Yeah, I didn't win that
Listen.
Powerball.
Yeah.
Clearly.
So the fact of the matter is, they can take away your bread. They can take away your paper.
Not if it's in your account.
That ain't true.
That ain't true.
That ain't true. That ain't
Man,
true.
That ain't true.
That ain't true.
how?
See,
If it's
they
already,
see,
I've
man, they
already
seize
made
people's
this money,
assets every day.
and it's already in the bank.
You
Well,
an
you know
attorney.
black
You
folks don't
attorney.
keep all their assets in the bank.
You an attorney. You defend criminals. You know they can just come and seize your stuff, and it's
Take
like you're
it.
gonna keep it.
Take it,
Criminals.
man,
I'm
yeah.
not doing anything criminally wrong. All I'm doing is having an
Yeah, but
opinion.
there's a
Did
lot
we
of
just
people that are
a lot
did
of
we
people
just
that are
say that
criminals.
that I'm white and I say so applies?
Mhm.
They can do whatever they want.
You're
Toss
suspected
something
of
in your
crime.
back seat and be like, "We found this in your car." I mean, they've been doing that for decades.
There's plenty of stories of
Very
people whose
true.
money they just take, like whether it be at the airport or on a traffic stop, and they have to sue to get their money back, and they never did anything wrong. They
Yeah.
just assumed at that moment, and it take 10 years to get your money back. You know,
Yeah. Fair.
If you don't
But-
run out of resources to try to fight to get it back.
that's why it takes so long. Exactly. They
But
hoping you run out of money.
But you
Mhm.
taking my money at the airport? How much money do I have on me at the airport if I'm a billionaire? Do I have a whole suitcase full of $1 billion?
You
on
just
my way
said
to
though, if you're a
Miami?
billionaire, you got to be able to get out the ATM. Your bank ain't going to insure that much, so you got to keep it on you.
Or keep it in different banks?
And we could and you can see what they did with y'all's boy, Kanye. The bank can say, hey man, we don't want your money here.
Yeah. or like they do with the weed people, the legal
Yeah,
legal
but
weed
so
people. Yeah.
I hope they had his shit in a suitcase waiting on him when he went to go pick it up.
You know, and before we go to the next topic, I told y'all several times that, you know, I'm not a fan of Ye anymore. And I talked about how Barkley and Shaq were going hard against Kyrie. And we said it on the show plenty of times. We got to learn when to just be quiet.
Man,
We got to learn when to just be quiet. If there's anything that I'll say, because I hate it when people say, like, well, white folks don't do this one, they don't do that or whatever. If there's one thing that we got to learn from them on how we play this game is when one of us makes a mistake, right? Even if we don't really rock with them, say nothing. They don't say a word. When Aaron Rodgers was tripping out, remember when he was tripping? When some of them they would not say a word, and we are so quick to just jump on and say everything we can. When I made my comment, I made my comment on my social media about Kanye. It wasn't really just to call Kanye. I did call him a sellout, but I wanted to make the point that here's what these people think about you.
right.
When he was talking about us, when he was being detrimental to our cause, they didn't say a word. But the minute he said something about those folks, he had to go. So that lets them know that, number one, we need to step our game up, right? We need to step our game up. But number two, that lets them know what they think about us.
Yeah.
So,
You
but just to
know,
go all out and be like, oh, I'm happy he lost his Adidas contract. I'm happy he did this. I'm happy to do that. Nah, we can't. Nah, that's not something we need to be doing.
It's something though. That's something that's I think it's deep rooted, deep seated in the in our community, is that part of historically our task was to entertain, right? And so every time you want to, we seek out entertainment. I mean, we do. That's why the people that we just said, why our entertainers are thought leaders, because that's who historically, that's how you got the attention. That's how you got prominence. They weren't given prominence to the people that weren't entertainers, to black men, unless you play baseball, unless you play football, unless you play basketball.
They wouldn't give prominence to George Washington Carver or anything like that, right?
They just murdered him.
No. That's what I'm saying. So that's a lot of people. That's their route, is to be the entertainment, to entertain, and it's not, just the masses in general. And so, like you said, I don't know why Charles Barkley and them were on there talking bad about him tonight.
Well, I can tell you why.
I know why, but
because Barkley just got a brand new fat contract.
Yeah.
From the people that probably Kyrie was talking about. So he had to go ahead and say what he had to say to make sure, hey, listen, y'all, I'm good. Don't take my money. I'll be y'all's attack dog.
And don't Barkley got one of those
yeah.
Nah, he ain't married no more, but he was.
Oh, she left him?
Yeah, he was.
Him and Kanye on the same squad when it comes to that.
Cleaned up, huh? I bet she cleaned up on her way out too.
Yeah. So yeah.
What's good, everybody? To listen to any of our past shows, go to www.manlistenshow.com. And if you want to add right here in the show, you can do the same thing.
But in sad news, y'all, we said this a lot in the news. Woke up this morning and Lab and shared it with our group chat, and then I saw it all over social media. The rapper Takeoff from the group Migos was shot and killed in Houston. He was shot and killed outside of a bowling alley. I think it was outside of the bowling alley, but it was at the bowling alley. It was inside. So it was inside the bowling alley by a dice game. So he got shot by the dice game, and it's just a sad situation. His uncle, his group mate, Quavo, was there. A lot of people are saying, it hasn't been confirmed, so I'll say allegedly, that some money was lost by Quavo. He took exception to it. A scuffle started, and their side started shooting, and they said this was friendly fire, and Takeoff was hit. They said he may have got hit by the opposing side as well, but at the end of the day, it's a life loss. So we talked about young Black men, young rappers losing their life early. He was 28 years old. I didn't hear any mention of him having any children or anything like that. People just talked about how he leaves behind his uncle and basically his group mates, because they were his family. Quavo's his uncle, Offset's his cousin. But it's just sad and it's tragic, and it just really hit everybody on social media. So we go around the horn. What were your thoughts when you woke up to this news?
First, my condolences, of course, to the family. And then, so for me, of course, as an attorney, I started thinking about all of the legal things that were going to come into play. Liability for the premises. Did they have security? Why were they allowing them to shoot dice on this pool table in this random bowling alley? Isn't that illegal gambling? You're completely negligent. You're going to be held fully liable. So my mind started working in like a totally different way. These criminal cases, can this dude who friendly fired his own friend, were they drinking? Who let them in with guns? Were they let in with guns because they were celebrities or part of the celebrity crew? Or was this like, a club that didn't think they needed to pat people down for the bowling alley? Did he have kids? Does he have contracts that are going to have to be negotiated now? Performances that, sometimes a lot of people pay 50% up front for a performance. Is he going to have to pay that money back? Who's going to be in charge of his estate? Did he have a will? So my mind was working in overdrive as far as the myriad of legalities that were going to come from this situation. But the truth of the matter is, at the end of the day, I'm not sure who said it online, but she was like, back when Tupac and Biggie died, we really thought that we would never experience another loss that great. And it seems like in this generation, it is every month, like it's another young Black male who is just passing away. And before we have time to really mourn one or properly like educate, the young kids on doing something better, there's another one. Whether it's drugs or gun violence, it seems like they've taken what we rapped about in the 80s and turned it into just an absolute lifestyle that they have no choice but to live. And I mean, it's at this point, it's ridiculous. Like, dice game? At this point, you're 30 almost, and you're fighting at a dice game, and not even him. He's an innocent bystander. He's just at the dice game. So now you can't even be at the dice game, or you could get shot by your own friends. That's crazy.
But see, my thought was, why was he there? I mean, when you're a millionaire, I know that like everybody doesn't gamble for money. I know, it's just like a pastime or something to do, or somewhat considered a sport. But like, he has all the money in the world. He could go to Vegas. He could rent out a whole casino. He could have a private room. He can have real security, whether there's police officers or somebody, checking people with weapons. Like, there's no reason to be at a bowling alley in Houston, like standing around a pool table watching people, gamble. So, I mean, I just don't understand like why he didn't move a little differently. But, on the flip side, he's 28. So I'm sure, in our 20s, everybody didn't always think, things all the way through. And then I kind of just, without even reading the story, I just kind of figured it was at the hands of another Black man. So that's disappointing too, because I mean, granted, he should have moved a little differently and watched his surroundings and not being there. But like, why do we have to? Why do we have to like not go out to eat at a certain restaurant, or not go in a certain neighborhood, or not check in on social media, or not be hanging around our people? Like, why is it so easy for a Black man to take the life of another Black man? But you can have a white country artist, and I guarantee you he can go check in on Facebook 10 times and say where he's at, what he's eating, and probably be sitting around gambling, and people wouldn't even think about approaching them. It's like, for some reason, like, we don't even see the value in each other anymore, which is really heartbreaking.
Yeah, I think they said it was a private party though. So I don't know if they were the ones that threw the party or what, but he was in town for I guess they said Jay Prince or somebody's birthday or something. I don't know.
Yeah, Jay Prince's son. Jay Prince's
Oh,
son.
okay, his son. Okay. So you know, so he probably felt he was amongst people that he could trust, you know, so he doing what they do. And you're right. You know, when I was in my 20s, and quite frankly, probably even after I was in my 20s, to be real, I probably was in places that I mean, same thing could have happened, you know. But not to excuse it or anything like that. Yet there has to be some kind of accountability amongst that we hold to other people in the community as well, you know. So part of that, I'm gonna be honest with you, what I started thinking, I was like, man, maybe I shouldn't. I started questioning rap music for real. You know, it was like, man, should I quit listening to some of these cats? You know, should I just go become an R&B dude? You know, I don't know. I really don't know what to think. Cause like you said, Arika, it's every month, literally, and it's getting to the point where you almost become numb to it, and you just say, "Up another one, another one." DJ Khaled, another one. You know, so it's definitely taking its toll on not just those specific families, but we talked earlier about Jay-Z. He could have morphed into a Jay-Z who's being very influential and giving money to the less fortunate or helping people on their, you know, civic responsibilities, criminal justice reform, that kind of stuff. You know, we don't know what he could have become because he was only 28. Jay-Z at 28 is not the same Jay-Z is now at 50. So we cut these Black men's lives short, and I say Black men because that's what it is. We cut these Black men's lives short, and we lose the opportunity to have another voice that gets older with wisdom, who's able to reach back to younger kids. And there's almost like a missing generation. There's a lot of old people and a lot of young people, but nobody is in that middle tier because a lot of them have been lost, whether to gun violence, whether to incarceration, whether to drug, whatever. And so that's taking a toll as well.
Yeah, y'all made a lot of sound points, and I mean, I have a lot to say about this. Number one, like Arika said, condolences to his family. It was crazy because he just came out with a new album with Quavo at the beginning of October, and it came up on my YouTube music, and it actually is a pretty good album. The Migos made good music. C talked about, you know, why your kids listen to a song that the Migos made. They made catchy music, nice hooks, and the way they did their ad libs and everything, and the production. They made good music. They did. And I had just made a social media post talking about how, you know, the Quavo and Takeoff, how I was really feeling the last album, and then for him to turn up Murdered like this, it kind of hit me. It hit me hard. It's not to say that these other, you know, young men who are rappers who lose their life to gun violence, it didn't affect me, but the fact that I actually kind of knew this guy and listened to his music, because like the PNB Rock and some of these other guys, like I didn't know their music, and until they were murdered, I didn't know anything about them. That's sad, but I'm a 45-year-old man. See, you made a good point in terms of his youth, because the first thing that I said was, well, dang, man, why aren't you in Vegas? Why aren't you, and I know Atlantic City's not the same as it was when my dad and it was coming up, but why aren't you like in AC or somewhere fly gambling? Why are you at a funky dice game, you know, at a bowling alley in Houston? Why are you doing this? Then I thought about it, he's 28. And Lab, you said maybe when I was young, I was doing I was in places I didn't need to be. I'm gonna tell you that you were in places that you didn't need to be. And the reason why I know is because I was with you.
Yeah.
So when we were in our late 20s and early 30s, we definitely were in places that college educated young men didn't need to be. You know, and I won't go into depth with what those places were, but we was there.
There were
So,
dice games going on pool tables. Yeah.
Dice game, and definitely dice game on pool tables. Exactly. I remember the situation in particular. Right. And so when I think about that, and I'm like, well, dang, why is he there? And I can't get on my high horse because, you know, I was still making those same decisions myself. And just by the grace of God, I was able to make it out and come home safely. And, you know, I instantly text messaged my son and my godson, and shout out to Little Beans. We didn't get to shout him out on the last show. It didn't make the cut, but shout out to Little Beans for, you know, filming the last show. And I said, hey man, you know, making it home isn't guaranteed. It's a blessing. And you need to hang out with people who are not going to get you into shit, but who are going to keep you out of shit. And I feel for Quavo because allegedly all this started with him, you know, becoming aggressive and kicking this whole situation off. A lot of people on social media said out of all of the members of the Migos, this guy was the most quiet, stayed to himself, wasn't really out there doing anything crazy. And he was the one that caught a bullet. It ended up passing away. But I put this out there to y'all. Are we at a point where we as a community need to say, listen, we're not going to listen to quote unquote gangster rap anymore? Lab, you talked about, hey, should I stop listening to him? Should I become an R&B dude? I kind of transitioned into that R&B dude. People hate on going on road trips with me because that's what I'm listening to. I'm listening to Drew Hill, Joe Desi. I'm singing and crooning. That's what I do. Now, do I, you know, like listening to the Mobb Deeps and all the different, you know, gangster rap that I came up on as a young man? Yeah, but I just don't listen to it anymore because I'm in a different place mentally and spiritually at this point in my life. But are we at a point where we should take that stance like other people take? Like, you know, like the Jewish people say, hey, no, you can't say anything about us. Don't say it, don't even make a joke about it. Don't even say one word, or we will make sure that you will be silenced. Are we at a point where we should do that? And is it even possible? I don't think it's possible, but I still want to pose the question.
So I don't think it's possible, just simply because we don't have enough power here. I know I read a couple stories how I guess in Jamaica, they took a stance, something like that. I guess if it's negative or gangster rap or music in Jamaica, you can't do it or sing it or something like that anymore. But, you know, and I don't want to seem like a hypocrite. So I do listen to some gangster rap. Like, you know, if I'm on my way to the gym, sometimes I'm in the trap with Jeezy or something like that. So I don't want to sit here and act like a hypocrite. But I just think, you know, as a whole, we got to expect more out of each other. Like I watched the interview with French Montana where he was talking about a lot of record labels have life insurance on our rappers. So it's like they give rappers all these billions to, you know, spew all this negative, you know, material, but then they're going to profit off of it in the end. And then Enrique made a valid point asking, now are they going to try to recoup some of his money back too? So I definitely think there's something that we should do, but I just don't think there's a whole lot we can do at this point. I mean, look at in the 90s when the NWA said anything about the police, they were rushing the stage. You better not play that one song. They play that song about the police. Next, you know, they're rushing the stage, arresting people. But NWA can talk all that, you know, gangster thug stuff, the whole entire concert, and no one says anything. So I just don't think we have the power here.
We don't have the power to decide what music comes out, correct? But I mean, everybody can make a decision for themselves. You do have the power to do that, to make a decision for yourself if you're going to listen to a particular artist or a particular genre or a particular subset of music, I guess. And it's definitely it requires a change, you know, because a lot of times we get comfortable, you know, and you listen to that Pac, right? See, and it takes you back to 98 or 97, 96, whatever, you know, it takes you back. And so, you know, you're reliving your youth subconsciously listening to that. And it's hard for the younger people though to do that. This is their youth though, you know. And so it, like you said, Marv, in our 20s, early 30s, we made bad decisions. I saw Dion address his team this morning. And they're going to Houston this weekend to play Texas Southern, I guess. And he was talking about it, if you want to get where you're going, you got to make a change. You're not the same person you were. And it sounds perfect coming from a guy who's 50 years old, who's made it. But when you're 22, 23, 24, man, it's hard to actually take that action. But for me, as like you said, middle-aged Black man, yeah, I already had stopped listening to so much of the newer rap. I mean, I listen to old school rap and stuff like that, but I think it's something that we can do and we probably should.
I think there's a difference. I mean, I was the first one to text the group chat when Jeezy came out with his new tape, New Jeezy out, right? But the one thing I liked about this last Jeezy album, Jeezy has a song called Street Cred. And he said, I can't buy a house with street cred. I can't do all these fly things with street cred. And I saw on an interview where he talked about how the last time he got locked up, he said people were talking about how, how hard he was and giving him props for getting locked up. And he said he just sat there and he was just like, this is stupid. I got all these things and I'm sitting here in jail. Now, Jeezy's 45 now. So there's a long maturation process that happens between 28 to 45. I tell people all the time, I really didn't consider myself like a grown man until I turned 26. Like up until I was 26, I mean, my mama was still paying my car insurance, so I was 26. Until finally I was just like, Mom, you can't be doing this, Mom. I'll struggle. I'll not eat, you know what I'm saying? But you're not going to be taking care of me. I'm 26. And even from that point, there was still a lot of lessons and mistakes that I made in becoming the man that I am today. I really don't say that I'll stop being like stupid as a man. I'm not a dumb person, but men do dumb things. I didn't really stop that until like my late 30s, 38, 39, 40. So there's
41,
yeah. So there's a process that we go through, and unfortunately the stakes are way too high for us as Black men, and it can turn lethal real quick. So hopefully, and you talked about that missing generation. That was by design too. When we talked about the war on drugs, mass incarceration, when they took away that guidance that somebody could say, nah, don't do that. Nah, this is the way you could think about this. Nah, if you do this, you're going to make the block hot and you're going to hurt everybody. Nah, y'all need to chill while these kids are going to school. Y'all need to chill when these old ladies are going to the grocery store. Y'all can do this over here at night or whatever. I'll tell a story a little bit later on, but like it matters, that mentorship and that guidance from older Black men. But Rika, you haven't weighed in on what you think.
I definitely think we can do it. I think we need to do it. Lakeith Stanfield posted a post today about how we need to really move away from gangster rap. And he said it in such a way that I really felt what he was talking about. And he was like, we have bigger issues. We do. But this is something that we can just do as individuals and something that we need to do. Do we have bigger problems to focus on? Do we have systemic racism? Do we have, mass incarceration and all these other problems? Yes. But we also have basically accepted allowing our children and our loved ones to sit around and listen to the promotion of the death of Black people. And then through that perpetuation, allowed it to be okay for us to be posted, deceased on the internet. I saw somebody said something about how they saw.
Most definitely. They posted his lifeless body. Thank God I didn't see it. But somebody was so, either they're just so stupid, cold-hearted, or desensitized, probably all three, that they posted that man's body losing his life, maybe so they could get a check, but yeah, it was circling all over the internet, and I thank God that I never saw it.
I didn't see it either. I didn't know that was a thing until I saw the post, but it really takes us calling out, each other. And the first thing I thought about was you with the N word. And then for me, I was like, nah, I'm going to keep using it. And then it's like, oh, but you can't use it on the show. And I don't use it in court or at work or around these other people. So I have the ability to not use it. I just choose to use it in conversation with who? Am I going to choose to use it in conversation with my children? You know, so like, or my brothers, my cousins, the people that I love. Who is it that I'm choosing to use this word around? And I think that's the same thing with gangster rap. I think as far as what we used to listen to growing up, being nostalgic, yes, to a certain extent, but when we found out the music that my son was listening to, none of it is gangster rap. It's all like, even like with the rap music that we listen to today, like Rhapsody versus Nicki Minaj. Like, do you want to listen to someone who's rapping about life, or do you want to listen to someone who's rapping about sex all day? You're making a choice, and then by me making that choice is influencing the people that I'm around. Because my kid gets Nicki Minaj all day on TikTok. She don't get Rhapsody. So if she gets Rhapsody at home, then she's getting exposed to something different. And then Earth Gang. So Earth Gang is new. That whole album is hard. None of it is gangster rap. So my kids know Earth Gang beginning to end because we listen to that all the time. But what am I exposing them to? And what am I using my age and my wisdom to expose them to? And that's kind of where I think I'll say I have to start taking more responsibility over my influence over my circle. Because like I'll try to play something like Kendrick or something with my family and they'll be like, we don't do that here. And I'm like, just give it a chance. Even if you don't like it, just give it a chance. We can go over to what you're used to, in a second, but just give it a chance. So even if we don't think we can make a lot of difference, even if it's just one song, or maybe if it's a nephew or niece in the background kind of listening and getting exposed to something different, I think we have a responsibility to try to move the culture away from gangster rap. Whether if we don't think we can do it, then we can't do it. So if we just believe we can do it, then we can do it. And we have a responsibility to try. At this point, we have to.
I think that, and then I'll wrap up the show. I think that it's complicated. I mean, because, where do you stop? I mean, C alluded to it. I'll admit to it. I listen to gangster rap with my kids. Now, I would sit there and say, hey, this is just like, I also let my kids play Grand Theft Auto. I say, hey, this isn't reality. This isn't reality. You don't shoot somebody and they come back, or you hit the reset button. No, that's not how this works. I had those conversations, and I hope that those conversations, landed like I wanted them to land. But some people could say it's entertainment. I'm a big fan of Power, and Power is all about drug dealing, right? And all the things that happen in our community. BMF, the retelling of the BMF story. I watched that. I enjoy it, and I'm not going to stop watching it. Now, where do you draw the line between these are TV shows and movies versus rap? I personally believe that anything that you listen to over and over and over again, like the saying says, the dumb are led by the drum. I feel like that's a real thing. But I definitely think that it's something that we need to strongly consider. And it's something that's been said before. I don't know if y'all remember, see, you talk about Tupac, how much you love Tupac. Back in the day, our elders did speak out against gangster rap. There's this reverend in New York. He just
Calvin Butts.
Last Friday. Calvin Butts. He was the guy where they steamrolled all over the CDs, and he made the bit like, no, we're not going to listen to this. And all the rappers, primarily Tupac, was like, F you too. And he was saying he was being real foul towards our elders. Tupac made that album. He was talking about C. Dolores Tucker. And now if you think about it now, Tupac passed away, he was in his 20s.
25,
he was talking about people, he was talking about people who are elders. Like if a young rapper did that to somebody who was like our age now, we say like, nah, bro, you don't do that. We're not disrespectful in that way. But Tupac did that.
And he
did.
Yeah. Yeah, I forget,
did.
man. I
So-
forgot about Calvin
So,
Butts was the one.
yeah,
Man.
he just passed away
Yeah,
last
he
Friday.
did last week.
Rest
Yeah.
in power.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've
Was he the
tried
one at the
before.
beginning of that bone track?
Yep, that was him. We're not against rap. We're not
thugs.
against
Yeah,
rappers.
we are against those thugs. Yep.
Yep.
That's him. So we've tried it. I think our generation might be the ones to be able to do it. I think that we may have, it may be on our kids to do it, you know, because we already exposed them to, you know, this type of rap and this type of entertainment. But hopefully we can pass those messages along and we can guide them to where they can pass it along to their kids, and we can eventually do that. So shout out to, rest in peace to Takeoff. I mean, I definitely, I mean, you talked about who was at a dice game. Erika, I mean, I grew up around dice games. My daddy ran a crap house. He did. My daddy taught me how to shoot craps. And the one thing my daddy always says, you don't need your gun to shoot dice. So he never allowed guns in his establishments, and he probably kept a lot of people alive. And I'm not saying that, you know, this is the way to go forward, but I'm just saying that we got to be smarter and we got to be more thoughtful and less reckless with one another. Whatever money that was on the table, whatever reputation that you felt that you had to protect by standing up to somebody, it's not worth losing your life, and it's definitely not worth losing the life of your cousin, your nephew, or your boy that's with you. Because it's never the person that started it that ends up dying. It's always somebody that's with them.
Yeah.
So my prayers go out to Quavo as well, because I'm sure that's going to be a heavy burden for him to carry. And I just hope that we do better. So let us know. Leave a note in the comments what you think. Can we get away from gangster rap? Should we get away from gangster rap? I mean, we've been on the show a long time, because like I'm just sitting there thinking, we blaming gangster rap. We're doing the same thing that they did when Don Imus was calling black women, you know, nappy headed, you know what's, and all that type of stuff. I mean, we can go deep with it, but the show's running long. Make sure y'all follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Make sure you share the show, leave a comment, let everybody know what we're doing. We're trying to give you good content, and we'll holler at you next time. Peace.